Hi and welcome to Studio 5 and IA and Automation, who is responsible for this smart future. Afterwards, we will have the opportunity to meet in session discussions to talk. My name is Marie Beimler, and I also have a guest with me here today. But first, I will start talking with some thoughts. I'm just going to click here one more time and see if my camera will show me from another angle as well. It would. Great. So let's see. So who am I? Well, I'm a PhD candidate at Scania, and as well as House of Innovation at Stockholm School of Economics, where I'm looking at how the view of the future is affecting technology development. And now I also forgot to share my screen because I got so nervous. So let's see if I can do that as well. Here we go. Ta-da! Okay, so I'm looking at how the future is affecting technology development as well as organizations and society. And I get into what that means shortly. But first, I thought I'm going to talk about why I'm going to talk about that. And also maybe I should talk about my credentials so that you know why I'm talking about this. So, as I said, I work at Scania and I have done so for almost 10 years. In 2013, I started to work with the advanced driver assisting systems and autonomous vehicles. So I'm an engineer. I used to build software functions for trucks together with my colleagues. And depending on how much you've been following this topic, I can tell you that 7 years ago, the place on the hype curve for autonomous vehicles was not the same as it is today. It was very much on the way up, or thought to be on the way up. It was kind of brewing. Not many people was doing anything, but a lot of people were talking. Because if you don't talk, you don't get any money. And if you don't get any money, you don't get to develop. So what was I doing then? Well, I was talking as well. It's called entrepreneurship, or if you're working at a big company like I'm doing, it's called internal entrepreneurship. So I was talking and talking and talking, and together with a lot of other people from other places. And together we kind of drove this hype curve forward. And this really got me thinking, because I kind of knew what we knew about this topic. And from that, I could kind of guess what the other guys knew. And you know what? There's a lot of guessing when a new technology is coming to town. There must be, because if you don't, how could anything new ever come around? If you don't dream, how could anything new ever happen? So, but it really started to bother me, because what happens with those dreams? How are they handled? Because surely not all of them were that smart. So today, I am going to talk about 3 small questions. What do we as society think about the future? Why does that matter? And what happens when we treat the future this way? Who gets responsible for this smart future? And I'm going to do that through my research. So let's start with the first question. What do we as society think about the future? And as I work at a vehicle company, this is where my examples are coming from. And as I do my research on self-driving vehicles, it gets even more kind of focused on vehicles. But I'm guessing that you have other technology, that you come from other technology fields. And I really encourage you to kind of think about how this fits in at your home arena, because I really think it does. So let's get back to the vehicles. In 2019, Albin Engholm at KTH and I did a paper on visions about self-driving vehicles. And we concluded that there were strong technology deterministic tendencies in the material. So what does that mean? And what kind of study did we really do? Well, we watched YouTube and we did narrative analysis And that is really going through all of the material, look at what is it telling, and kind of taking out the grand themes. What is it kind of saying together? And so when we did that and said that, well, they have technology deterministic tendencies, what does that mean then? Well, it means that technology is the bearer of social change. And this could be argued, one could have kind of many definitions of that, but this is kind of the softest one that we could choose. It kind of says that if we have a certain technology, human behavior will be in this way. To have some kind of examples from the material, if we have connected vehicles, we will have better health. Or self-driving vehicles will change the way we travel, not the other way around. Not that we have a new technology and that in this way will lead to that we travel. And that will lead to a technology that enable us to travel in a new way. If one wants to be extremely simplifying, kind of dragging this all the way to the other end, as far as one can stretch this and still kind of be clear to what we're telling, this is what I would exemplify it with. The person have functional legs, nothing to carry. He is looking for a smooth and nice ride in an urban surrounding. I call him the Baguette Man because it's often a he. It seems that he's very interested in not missing sports events on his way home, which kind of indicates that there's a lot of clues that this person actually could walk. I'm not saying that this is completely true. There are children in the material as well, but they're also big, so they could be walking as well. There are no elderly people. No, that's not true. There is one elderly person, and he's on his way to golf. I don't do golf myself, so I shouldn't say too much, but I kind of the one thing that's got stuck to me about people and golf is that it's about spoiling a good walk. So I guess people who are on their way to golf could walk as well. So this kind of seems to be saying that these are the persons that the dreams are built for. These are the ones we are building the new transportation system for. So how do we then treat the future? Why does this matter? Why does this kind of Baguette Man mean something? Well, I look at theory because that's what you do when you're a PhD student. And there's a lot of theory that looks at history matters. It kind of says that we have this backpack, and this backpack makes us take certain decisions. It's called path dependencies. It's a theory that's been around since the 80s. It's used a lot. And we have a lot of examples that I think all of you know about. It's the QWERTY keyboard that we all use to type on our computers. And it's the VHS and the Betamax kind of struggle, which movie shower, well, which technology would be the one that we choose. So, and it kind of says that when we have done big economic investments and we have dependencies in know-how and we have built up production and other kind of investments in both our cultural and economic ways, we are more prone to take certain paths, and that this affects us. And we are all warned about this. Be aware about the history. We need to be really strong to kind of break paths. But what I'm thinking is, how about future matters? How about all of these dreams or visions or strategies that we are making about the future? How are they affecting us in the same way? And when it comes to infrastructure, these kind of path dependencies from the past are extremely strong. They're kind of built into the ground. They're concrete. They are how our cities are formed. They are railroads and roads. They are extremely physical. So how we are formed by our history is extremely strong, even though we're all working from home today, as we could see. But it's even if this is the true, then if we are making these kind of strong predictions about the future and we're starting to change this really strong and inert infrastructure for the future built on dreams that are maybe not that smart from the beginning, then we kind of get stuck in the middle with some kind of solutions that maybe are not optimal what the technology actually could achieve, and maybe not for our society either. And if we kind of add to this our view on technology as technology deterministic, then then we kind of get stuck in our old social constructions as well. So who then gets responsible for this smart new technology? And because as we saw in the beginning, even though it is socially constructed, dreams told to get financing or try out technology thoughts and come together and talk about how we could solve these problems kind of get things going in more than one way. So all of these people talking kind of pushes us in one direction. I've done another study at a Swedish government agency where we kind of could see how this played out, where we could see that there they have these goals for supporting innovation. That's one of the goals. But they also have very strong transportation goals, saying that we as a society should lower our CO2 emissions with 70% from 2010 to 2030. And when we're looking at, and also that transportation should be available for all. So there are two strong goals from transportation, and there is one goal for kind of enhancing innovation. But what could be seen is that when they are looking at how to look at policies and regulation for self-driving vehicles, they're kind of stuck in between these two goals, saying that, well, if we are putting too much interest into the innovation, we are into the technology, we're going to stop innovation, and then kind of nothing happens instead, or not nothing happened, but they choose to take the back seat instead of doing something actively, even though we could see that there is a lot of other research showing that if nothing is done about self-driving vehicle, these two other goals about CO2 emission and enablement for availability for everyone is not going to be reached. So the society goals versus the technology enhancement goals kind of get stuck in the middle, even though those two doesn't really say that they are playing against each other from the beginning. They could really much be playing together. And implying that the parts of the future seems to be just as effective as the backpack of the past, because these dreams from the beginning talking about the technology really have a lot of promise in them, that they should lower emissions or do all of these other kind of things. But that kind of implies that the technology in itself is bearer of the change. So who gets then responsible for the smart new technology? Well, that is kind of hard to say. And me myself don't think that there is any easy answer. And maybe it's not that smart to invite people to a topic that you don't really have an answer to. But I think it's a really interesting question. And I think it's a question that we need to think about, all of us that are working in technology, because we certainly have a role to play in this, and certainly have an ability to kind of remember that this is socially constructed and we are a part of building this part. And I also think that there is something in this, what is really smart, because in some aspects, smart does imply that that's the best choice for the problem and that it's best suited for the goal. And it's kind of interesting that that always implies new technology. But as you see, I'm just going to keep digging this hole deeper and deeper, and maybe that's not the smartest thing to do, and maybe I think we need some new kind of energy into this. So I have invited a colleague of mine. I think we should welcome Elin Stålklinga, who is the head of autonomous system vehicle behavior. And she worked with these questions, she has worked with these questions for many years, and she's not only wise, but she is also much more involved with the day-to-day technology challenges instead of just reading books like me. So please welcome Elin.
And then, of course, I should unmute. So thank you so much, Marie. It's such an interesting topic that you are talking about. Yes, my name is Elin Stålklinga, and I am head of group at Scania working with software development within the autonomous system. And we are a group of 3 teams working with software on board the autonomous vehicles, like degradation management, mission handling, and also predicting the objects we have around us. And me as well, as you, Maria, I've been working for Scania for about 11 years now, starting with brake systems and being project manager and now head of this software group.
So how do you think about this, about solving the problems of the future? Because you are doing this on a much more day-to-day basis, but you still have to think about this from many different aspects.
Yes, we do. When working in a complex field as autonomous vehicles, we kind of need to embrace the uncertainty. We need to continuously learn and adapt. And I think that is a key factor here, that the only thing that we know for sure is that we don't know everything. And this is also valid for these views of the future. We need to challenge them all the time, I would say, in our daily work. And of course have hypotheses, but also be very keen on this build, measure, learn, and not be afraid to adapt when we learn something new that kind of turns us in a new direction.
I have this picture that I drew up. I got it from Garud, who is again a theorist. That he is kind of weighing that. He says that to be a good engineer or a researcher, you have to kind of constantly weigh what you are, your own ideas versus kind of what happens outside in the world. And you constantly have to kind of meddle these two between each other. How do you do that practically? I think that's such a nice picture, because that's kind of in a way what you do, isn't it?
Yes, and that's so true, because I mean, historically we have been kind of delivering a functionality to our customers in a traditional way at Scania, and now we need to have a different way of working with our customers. We need to treat them more like a partner and have a partnership and develop what we need to do together with the customers to know that we are actually delivering what they need and how we can solve their problem with our technology. So yeah, it's a different way we need to approach this.
Do you have any examples when we have to kind of rethink this, of not getting stuck in the ways, our own thoughts or our own dreams or visions?
Yes, and I believe everyone who's working with this is within this field have these experiences, and I also worked with you earlier regarding this advanced driver assistance system. And I mean, for a long time, we had a view of these advanced driver assistance system taking us into autonomy. And then by experience, and we learned that this will not be enough. We need to take a quite big step when it comes to technology. And for example, the sensors we need and so on. So that is a typical learning, I would say. Then we took a step away from that path that we had kind of a strong direction, I would say, and took a step and entered a new path with the bigger step and a different path.
How do you do that in your role as a manager? Because I'm thinking, you, as you said, you and I, we worked together, and then we kind of took different paths. I joined the books, and you joined the people. I think that's it's very comfortable for me. That's the way it turned out.
Yeah. But I mean, and there it's the same thing there. When we are entering complex technology, we need to really take this on in new ways. I mean, as a manager, you can't be the best in the technology, because it's moving fast and you should have the best people within their field. And what I can do as a manager is to nurture the culture that kind of lets us learn and let us try things, dare to try these new stuff that we need to try to evaluate. Is this the good thing? Is this the way we should go? And if it's not, then we lift it up, we learn from it, and we go in a new direction. And that's what you need to do as a manager, to kind of nurture that culture that we can learn and dare to try new stuff.
I think that's really amazing, and it's been so fun to follow, and I really think that's a kind of tie back to where we started with the question from the beginning. The really, I think the key words is this kind of responsibility and smart. And when I was thinking about this, you always kind of send in this, we should talk about this, and then you kind of write up what you're going to say, and then you get the anxieties in the night, or at least that's how I work. And you're like, it kind of felt like I was talking about not taking responsibility the whole time. But I'm really glad I have you with me, Elin, because for me, that really is kind of the key thing, to think about all of these things. And it's not saying I'm not the only one responsible, but saying we are all responsible. And isn't that also kind of part of being a manager, to kind of include everyone in this responsibility as well, without backing away from your own?
Yeah, definitely, I would say. And also, when we come to responsibility, I just need to pinch in, because you talked about that, and society and responsibility and so on. And I think that is what we're learning more and more now, that we need to combine the environment and the infrastructure with the smart technology and the autonomous vehicle, to kind of build a responsibility together to make it safe, as an example.
Okay, it was so fun to have you here, Elin, and it's been so fun to talking about this. This is it's always so hard to do this when you don't see the people who are listening. So I hope all of you were able to follow, and please follow with us to the session discussion. Both Elin and I will join, and we are more than open to take your questions, because it would be really nice to hear all of your smart input as well. Do you have anything you would like to say, Elin, as well? And I'm sorry if I'm looking in all different directions, because all of my screens are kind of messed up.
No, but just please join us in the discussion. It's so interesting to discuss these topics. And if you have any questions, please join us there.
Okay, see you, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much.